In this video, I'm going to take a look at gadgets in Battlefield 1 and give my opinion on how DICE should change it for the next Battlefield title. There has been much debate over whether Battlefield 1 gets the team aspect of gameplay correct, and in terms of player-to-player interaction, I believe that gadgets have a large impact on how that all works. BF1 saw changes that certainly place more emphasis on each individual class, however I feel the gadgets weren't really touched. I understand that the World War I time period really held the team back in terms of the gadgets they could include. For example, you could not have an RPG. However, I feel as if they got round this quite well. This video is going to take a look at the current state of affairs and work out what is wrong with gadgets in Battlefield 1, and then give some opinions on how I think it should be changed. I'll also be referencing a Reddit post by Dan Minigun. You can check out his YouTube channel in the description. Lots of things that he came up with are opinions that I also share, and it's quite nice that he brought it to light in a Reddit post, although it was a few months ago. It's definitely worth checking out, and it's a very interesting read. So firstly, let's take a look at what we've got already, and try and work out what is wrong with the gadgets in Battlefield 1. Now, I'm not going to focus on individual gadgets. There's no point in focusing on what is wrong with, say, the dynamite, or the rocket gun, or the spotting flare, because that stuff's not going to be changed, and I'm sure DICE have already come up with new gadgets that will change when the setting changes for the next Battlefield game. Instead, I'm going to take a look at the mindset behind the gadgets, and why you would include, say, a rifle grenade in the medic class. The whole idea of gadgets, in my opinion, is to enable players to achieve certain tasks such as reviving, taking down tanks, or spotting groups of enemies. These are almost like special abilities, whereby a player can only choose two from a selection. Incorporated into this, you have the team play aspect. Some gadgets directly influence your ability to help teammates, for example the medical syringe, whilst others are designed to help all players in your team, including yourself, for example medical bags or ammo pouches. My issue is that some classes should be forced to perform certain duties, and with the current setup, you can pretty much avoid reviving or supporting any players if that's what you choose to do. Now, you might say that that just reflects a certain player, and maybe you're a very selfish player who wants to only play with a limpet mine and a grenade crossbow, which you bought the game, you can choose to do that. But it's the fact that DICE have designed a game that allows you to do that really takes away from the team play aspect in Battlefield 1, and for someone that's played quite a lot of Battlefield games, I can say that the team play aspect in Battlefield 1 is probably the lowest I've ever seen. And that's not down to the sort of players that are playing the game, although some people would say that's probably part of the problem. I think it's down to the way the gadgets have been designed. That's not to say that it was sorted in Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 either. Both those games suffered from very similar problems. Now, how to fix it? Well, I want to see a setup that forces players to have the class's core gadgets assigned by default with no chance to change them. The medic class should 100% have a syringe or defibs and a medical pouch or medical bag as the two main items. The problem then is customization, and players will really be disappointed as they have no option to alter what is in their class's gadget slots. I would be the same. I really want to have that option to customize my loadout. I want to customize my sidearm, I want to customize my primary weapon, my melee weapon, maybe even specializations, and then I want to be customizing my gadgets. What I propose is lots of different types of pouches and syringes that all have their own pros and cons. In a similar way to the medical crate and pouch, this idea would have the game allow you to choose from 3 or 4 different medical supplies, giving the medic class some depth when it comes to choosing your loadout. You would also be forced to play the class properly, and in turn this would improve team play. The same could be applied to the support class, with the ammo crate and pouch being forced on you, whilst the other slot could be for either a mortar or a crossbow or a limpet mine or whatever it seems to be. When it comes to the repair tool, I think it all depends on the direction DICE wants to go with the vehicles. In Battlefield 1 you can repair from the inside of the vehicle, therefore reducing the need for a repair tool. When it comes to the scout class, I believe the spotting flare should be a default gadget, whilst the other slot is open for players to choose something else. The reason I think this would work is simply down to the team play it would promote. If you see a medic, they would 100% be able to revive you or drop meds. If you see a support player, they would 100% be able to resupply you. This would also enhance the balance of the game if you then introduced a feature that allowed class limits on certain servers, and trust me, this would make the game far more enjoyable. Battlefield 4 often had presets introduced by server owners that forced a sniper limit or something similar. This was then map specific. So for example, if you were playing Gormwood Railway, you would be allowed more snipers. If you were playing Operation Locker, they would reduce the amount of snipers to maybe 3 per team or something like that. And I'm not saying it should be as severe as that, but I'm saying that maybe having a 25% limit on each class on most maps would improve the gameplay for everybody. Now of course this is just an idea, and I haven't really thought it through all that much, because with things like this it sounds good on the surface and then you implement it into the game and it could be an absolute disaster. From a negative standpoint, and this is something I alluded to earlier, players may feel annoyed with the fact that they can't customize their classes in the same way that they have been able to previously. However, I think that just wouldn't be the case. If you had far more options that all produced a similar result in the customization menu, I think it would be fine. For example, 3 different types of medical bag and pouch. One that maybe brought your health back up to 100, one that got it up to 50 but did it a lot faster, and maybe a couple of different pouches. One that was a very powerful pouch that could be used to get players' health back up to 100 and it would do it very well and very quickly, but you only got one of them and it took a while to respawn. Maybe the other one, you had 3 pouches and maybe they did 50% health increase to surrounding players, but you got 3 of them, so you could throw 2 to one player and it would do the same as the other pouch that I just mentioned, but you'd also get an extra one. You see what I mean? It's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. Do you pick one pouch because you want to do a lot of health to somebody, or do you pick the crate? Kind of the situation we have at the minute, but maybe with a few more. Now I know this sounds pretty boring and maybe you want to take a rifle grenade with your medic class, but the reason behind this would be you don't want to take the medic class if you want a rifle grenade. You'd go and take the assault class, or you'd go and take the support class. And I think that would place even more emphasis on choosing the correct class in the loadout screen. Another change that I think they should really implement in Battlefield 1, and they could definitely try this out in the CTE, is changes to the UI. I want to see more direct information from the game to myself and other players. I often run up to someone and ask for ammo, but quite often they don't drop it. Now I was trying to work out why this is. Quite often it's not the player's fault. They're not really a bad player. They just can't work out that I'm trying to ask for ammo. Maybe they don't have the chat box open because of the amount of rubbish that you get spammed in there. Maybe they haven't looked on the corner of their screen and seen that ammo supply symbol, because to be honest, there always are ammo supply symbols and they're everywhere. Even if a player needs 1 bullet, he'll have an ammo supply symbol. So maybe what they need to do is have a little sign pop up on screen with my player name needs ammo, and it would only work for players that have used the comm system and requested ammo by aiming at a certain player. I think things like this would be very, very useful in game and definitely would add to the experience. A final thing I'd like to cover, and again Dan Minigun touched on this in his Reddit post, double keybinds. Maybe this is only a problem for PC players, but I have a feeling it's a problem for the console players too. The best example of this is throwing a pouch and throwing a medical supply when you're trying to spot. I understand what DICE were trying to do here. They were trying to make it easier and faster and more dynamic throwing medical supplies, but to be honest, I have no problem clicking 3 on my keyboard and throwing it myself. I do not want to have a double keybind. You have the same problem with the bayonet and the melee system. There are enough keys on a keyboard and enough buttons on a controller to avoid doing this. I know it's a small issue, but things like this definitely take away from the game. So let me know in the comments what you think of this idea. Do you think that DICE should change up the classes and force them to play their role? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know your opinions on this. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.